I'm Krista, I'm an addict.
I'm Gracie, and I'm not. We're back for episode 3 with a surprise. If you didn't see, we're on Apple Podcasts now, so if you have an iPhone, you can go to your podcast app and listen to us there. So if you're listening there, hi, you just hear our voice.
Hello.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is K-Squared if you're listening and not watching. And once you find one social media, you can find the rest.
All of that thanks to you. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, so...
Your support is very appreciated and
supported. What would you say that your highs and lows of the week were?
My high would be I found out about my apartment, so that's exciting. And then my low would be breaking my fingernail today. That was pretty sad because I've been working hard to grow them out and it just broke right off. What would you say your high and low of the week was?
Well, let's first start out about my low. You were here to witness that. Seeing the promises play out in my life, both positive, there's only positive to it, but like one of the promises is used to handle things that used to baffle us. Yesterday, as I have right now, my kids are able to stay the night with me one night a week. That's Friday night. I spend every day with them, but because of my work schedule, they're having to stay out at my mom's house through the week. And so I have 3 kids under 11, and I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I'm not going to have them just sit down and be on phones the whole time. So I had someone come up and complain that my kids were being too loud, but it wasn't. I feel like it was.
They weren't being very loud.
You were here for that,
yeah.
And just the disrespect. I handled it so well, I feel like, but the main thing is like I used to handle things in either one of 2 ways. Either I wouldn't stand up for myself at all, or I would act completely ratchet and end up like getting in trouble or something. And I feel like I not only stood my ground for certain things, but then like I handled myself with grace rather than
you're still respectful and matter of fact.
Yeah. And I think where I lost it was my neighbor told me to have it was 10 o'clock in the morning.
It wasn't early.
No. And she's like, why don't you just have your kids go in their room and play? Like, that's where
it took a turn.
That's when I said, you're not about to tell me how to run my household.
Right.
And, but just it's things like that, like I'm able to like pause rather than just simply react. I can gather myself and think, okay, I can handle this. So that was a negative situation, which I took as a positive. But I do have to say that like my safe space that I have created in my home, like I feel a lot of negative energy in it, or I did yesterday, and it took me a while. Like I had to practice a lot of what I've learned in recovery, just to like let it go. Like just at the end of the night, I was mad all day long.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I couldn't like act out in front of my children. It was spiritual growth. Thank God that I was spiritually fit yesterday. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the high would be that we went shopping yesterday, just spending time with you and being able to provide for the kids. I think reality set in last night. Like I texted you last night, and reality set in when I went to go tuck my kid in, and like I looked around and and the material things are not important to me, but like looking around, I had their room like cozy and like decorated, and just tucking my kid in, laying there while she's sleeping, like
in your own apartment.
Yeah, just I don't know, reflection I guess of like 2 years ago. Like I started crying, and over the past year, the only time that I find myself crying is when I'm angry and I cannot like do anything about my anger, so I usually cry. But like this time it was like grateful tears, like just I was homeless and sick without my kids 2 years ago, and just working this program and being in recovery, like just how quickly things can turn around, and blessing after blessing. It's just beautiful. And then like you were here through all that yesterday, so I'm just real grateful. So that was high and low of the week.
I remember feeling grateful like the first time, like about a year ago, when you were like newly clean. And I remember you texted me and asking if I wanted to go like to lunch or something, and we went to Denny's. And I remember how like special that felt to me, to be able to like go in a restaurant and sit down and us have a meal. And I don't know, it's like the little things like that too that are just so, you feel so grateful for being clean, you know, that's not something we would have been able to do years before, you know. And you paid for my meal, and it was just like, I remember going home and just like being like, just feeling so grateful that day for everything.
Yeah. And it's, what blows my mind is just how quickly the promises of the program do start happening in your life. Like those things that I take for granted. So another one of the promises, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Like, you know, when we are out to eat or out shopping or just spending time together, like, I had known from trial and error and using, like, that's all those things can be taken away from you quick. Like, I'm not confused about the fact that when I put one in me that I can't stop. Like, it's an all or nothing type of thing for me with using. So as quickly as I've built this stuff up and all the hard work, like, that can be taken away in a split second, and I can be right back. And every time that I go back out after having some clean time, like, I've reached another, like, yet. And what I mean by that is, you know, all through addiction, I'll be like, well, I haven't done that yet. You know, like, I haven't lost my kids yet. I haven't went to jail yet. I haven't been to rehab yet. Like, every time that I've went back out, I've reached another yet. So I don't know that there's many more yets that I can reach besides death or prison time, for real. Like facts. Facts. But I don't know, just all week has been like kind of like I've just been emotional all week, like just being tired from work and, you know, starting to gain more independence from my parents. Like, you know, their house was always like a comfort zone for me, and it still is big time, because I still know as like a single mom when I go out there or when you're with me that I have that support, but I think that I'm getting more independent.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, as time goes by, and I'm just, as much as I want to go out and spend time with my parents because I love being out there, like, I'm trying to respect their time because they do help me so much, but also, like, just get more comfortable with having all three of my kids and not being so overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming.
And it takes time to get back into the groove of everyday life.
Big time. Like, I think it is so important. Where I have messed up in the past is, I think the last time that I had, you know, some time of sobriety under my belt, like, I wanted all that stuff back, like, immediately. Do you remember the last time, like, you know, I got my own place, I had a job, I got the kids back immediately, and, like, I had, like, pride issues of not wanting to ask for help, and that got me high real quick because I took on all of those responsibilities, and instead of being like, hey, I need some help, like, I just...
You thought you just had to do it by yourself.
Yeah, and so my first thought was, all right, I'll just do a little speed, and then, you know, I'll be able to keep up, and that might work for a week for me, but, you know, within a month, I'm using my drug of choice and all in, you know, so this time around, I think that it has been much easier for me to be like, hey, I need some help, I'm tired, like, I don't want to go here by myself because I get overwhelmed at the store with 3 kids, because it's, I don't know about any other moms, but like when I take all 3 of them to Walmart, by the time I come out, I'm like in full-fledged like panic mode, like, because they're 11, 7, and 3. Like, I'm about to lose my mind.
They're everywhere all the time.
Everywhere, and they're good kids, but like,
they are.
But I mean, by the time I get home, I'm like, oh my god, like I need.
They're the best, but they're also kids.
Yeah. So, anyway. So yeah, that's transitioning back into. I think that's one of the most important things as a mother in recovery is if you've had to put some time, you know, to focus on yourself, or you've been in long-term treatment, or you've been incarcerated. I think that it's real important to not try to get all that stuff back like immediately, because I've had to relearn everything I already knew, like, all over again. Like,
and also, I think it's important to learn, like, it's okay to take time to do those things. Like, it doesn't make you look weak or any less of a mother in that sense or anything, because you have to take time, because when you, like before, like you said, when you rushed into doing those things, look where it led you. And now where you've taken your time and taken what you can handle and grown as a person, you're on a whole different path than you were the time before, you know?
For sure. And it's not like that, it's like my perception on that stuff changed, or my outlook, rather than like the circumstances, because I feel like the program's still, I mean, not feel like, it is, the program's still the same, the education's still the same, but like I just, like I said earlier, like trial and error, I know what did not work for me in the past. So taking that, I had this mindset like, okay, if I take a little extra time this time, then I don't have to go back and do this ever again. You know, like I do not have to go back to rehab ever again. I don't have to relapse. I don't have to go back to jail to learn a lesson. Like, so as hard as it is, I had to set that pride aside and think, you know, it's okay that I spend a little extra time, like being comfortable with all this stuff and having help, because they are still little. But my kids also know what's up now, because I do share age-appropriate things with them, and I think that is important to educate your kids at a young age. So, I mean, all three of my kids have, I mean, me and then their fathers are in recovery. So, like, I'm not gonna not tell them about that, you know?
Yeah. And I'm glad, like, growing up, you and my family and everybody was really open with me about that stuff, because it has made me into the person I am today. But it also, like, you learn in school, like, don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, but like for me, like physically, every time, like, let's say like you go to a party, like most high schoolers, college kids, whoever, they would be like, okay, I'm gonna have a drink of this, or I'm gonna do this drug, whatever, but gonna wake up tomorrow and feel like crap. For me, like, when I think of those things, I think of the long-term effects of it. You know, like, I think 10 years down the road, where does that lead you? Which obviously every little thing you do isn't that, but
right.
You know, like, that's more so how I've grown up thinking about things, where like when people aren't honest with their kids about it, they don't think of the long-term effects of drugs and alcohol.
No. And I can personally say my parents did tell me, like, you know, your grandfather was an alcoholic, or I can't even put that label. He drank, and like, I was warned about that stuff. I was taught that stuff in school, but I still remember the first time that, like, I took pain medicine. Like, I did not even comprehend, like, the feeling that I was gonna feel, and all, like, the emotional and mental stuff that came along with that. I had no idea. I had drank in the past, smoked weed in the past, but like, when I started getting into a little bit harder things, I didn't realize, like, the physical, like, attack that stuff was going to have on my mind and my body. So I think when my kids get old enough to, like, start experimenting, or that's the possibility, like, I will definitely be honest with them about everything. So,
and like I said, I'm grateful that everybody was very honest with me about those things.
So do you feel like, with, you know, being educated on, like, AA and NA and the program, and, you know, being an alcoholic and an addict, how do you feel like that do you think it's affected you being able to, like, go to college and just, like, be a typical college student and see people around you, like, just partying? Like, how has that had an effect on you?
I feel like when I was younger, it was very hard for me to see, like, my friends, like, choosing to do things that, like, at the time I didn't choose to do or whatever. And I was quick to judge them. And even, like, I mean, if, like, when we were in high school, if they drank or smoked weed or whatever, I was very quick to judge them, because in my head, all I grew up knowing was, like from seeing you out, it just, like, it scared me, right? Like,
yeah.
So as I've gotten older and I'm in college, I've had to, like, learn that I don't have to quickly judge and be like, okay, they smoke weed, they're a drug addict, they drink alcohol, they're an alcoholic, you know? Like, I've had to almost retrain my brain, because growing up, it was so, like, I was so crazy about, like, those feelings, you know?
And there are people that can socially drink or smoke or do whatever they want to and not ruin their lives.
Right, and I've had to, like, learn that, because I guess from that side, I've only seen, like,
the
bad part of it, you know?
Yeah.
So I have had to retrain my brain almost.
Yeah. So I think that, like, and also, like, when I was growing up, my parents obviously told me that I was predisposed to, alcoholism and not to drink and, don't do this and that. I had uncles that, were drug addicts, and there was always that uncle that my parents would be like, well, you don't want to end up like that because that's what's going to happen. And even knowing those things and being told that, like, I still didn't put two and two together until after I experienced it. Like, I'd always been told, don't do that. Like, you're just predisposed to that. But then when I did it, like, that's how I knew that, like, addiction was a disease. Because after that first time, like, that whole cycle started. And
I think that's why it's important to, like, be honest with your kids when they're young or from a young age. Because, I mean, honestly, I'm not a parent, but, like, as a parent, you have to prepare yourself for your kids going through those situations, because that's the reality of it. Like, they're gonna drink, they're gonna try drugs, like, so that's why you have to talk to them about those things. Because, I mean, my parents told me the same thing, like, don't drink, don't do drugs, but, that's, like, great for them to tell, like, I'm glad they told me those things, and they talked to me about those things, but when you talk to them about that on a deeper level, they understand where you're coming from, instead of it just seeming like a parent telling you what to do and what not to do.
Right. And that's a fear I have, if, like, with my kids, like I said, they're going to have it from both sides, like, that possibility. And I think that I don't focus so much on the using and drinking part of it, as I focus on them being able to express their feelings, or let's talk about your emotions, let's communicate, and even now, them being little, I still do that stuff, like, and also that does put, like, a lot of, like, I overthink everything I do just from trying to be a healthy mom and raise healthy kids, like, and I don't mean, like, just physical wise, I mean, like, emotionally healthy. Like, we talk about stuff, if I catch them being, like, a mean kid, I will call them out on it. We hold each other accountable. They hold me accountable. Heck, I've been trying to stop smoking a vape for months now, and my kids will straight call me out if they see me outside. Like,
they're the most accountable holding kids about anything you do that I've ever met.
Right. And I'm glad of that. Like, they still have
not in a mean way either. They're very straightforward and respectful about it, but they will call you out.
And, like, I still am trying to, like, keep their innocence, because my family and I have been able to, I don't want to say shelter them, because they know what's up, but I feel like that their innocence has definitely been kept.
Yeah, for sure.
Through a lot of stuff, but
also while being honest with them.
Yeah, so that's really important to me, is just focus on, like, behaviors that I know that I have as an alcoholic and an addict. Like, if I see those. If I see those behaviors in my kids, like, I don't say, like, that's bad. I just, like, because I don't want them feeling like they're bad people. Like, we talk about those behaviors. Like, let's try to.
It's not them as a person that is being bad.
And also, like, I think being, like, so, like, trying to help them be self-aware. Like, how do you think that behavior is going to turn out, or do you think that's good? And, like, my kids, like, they talk to me about stuff. And I hope that continues to grow, and that, like, that trust is still there. And I always had that open line of communication with my parents too, but somewhere along that line, like, I started, like, hiding things and trying to sneak. And I mean, I guess that's typical, right?
Yeah.
Like, not wanting to get caught, and I don't want my kids to ultimately feel like they can just run wild either. Like, it all boils down to boundaries with everything. Everybody, relationships, friendships, family. Like, I think boundaries is, I'm in drug court right now. As soon as I got out of jail, they had me take a boundaries class, and I swear I learned so much for, like, how much like, I broke people's boundaries and how much I allowed others to break my boundaries. Like, I always felt like I don't set boundaries and I let people take advantage of me. But taking that class, like, I also realized that, like, I cross other people's boundaries by, that's the thing. Like, just always trying to see both sides to it.
I think in today's world, even, like, growing up knowing about addiction on a deeper level than just like somebody being on drugs or being an alcoholic. I remember one time I was working and there was somebody, I think they were sitting outside or something, and they were obviously on drugs, and I don't remember exactly what they were doing. I don't know if they were sitting out there talking to themselves or something, like they were hallucinating or something. And customers were coming in and telling us, and I remember being there, like checking people out at the checkout, and other customers overhearing. And I remember the reaction of that specific customer that overheard, and she had a child with her, and she grabbed the child. He was standing there next to her, and she grabbed him and was like, stand right here and hold on to me, like, don't let go.
Like they were dangerous.
Yeah, and I remember being very, like, taken back almost, because obviously that's not how I was raised. Like, you don't react like that. And she was just like, that's just scary. Like, I don't even want to come back here. And I just, like, I remember, like, that sticking with me for a while, like, just
closed-minded.
Yeah, and that, like, which again is another goal of the podcast, is there are closed-minded people that just, I think partly it's ignorance, but I also think partly it's just they don't know.
Yeah.
And for me, like, obviously since I grew up the way I did, I was able to, like, I mean, I didn't look at that person sitting out there and think, oh my gosh, like, let me stay away from them. I thought, like, what can we do to help him, honestly? Like, I think I went and told another lady that works there, and she went outside and asked them if they needed a ride, and somebody ended up calling them a taxi. But, like, it's just, like, learning how to just, like, live on an everyday basis. Like, those things really do affect you. They affect your reactions, just knowing simple things like that.
Like, all of that boils down to, like, just be kind. It's like, even when I was getting high, like, I would watch other addicts treat other addicts, like, horribly, like, belittle them, and, like, it all boils down to, like, just be mindful of what you say to people. Like, even now, you know, I'll see people struggling, and I think maybe I do it a little too much. Like, I have to watch again, boundaries. Like, anybody that asks for help, I, like, want to help. So it's like, okay, you can't help everybody. But, I don't know, I think that keeping that humility, no matter how long you have clean or anything, like, I never forget where I came from. And I think it was because I experienced so much pain and addiction that, like, anytime I see anybody that's struggling, like, I just do not forget where I came from. Discussing humility, I've been seeing, like, lately, you know, people that I used to see out in active addiction, friends I grew up with, like, just people getting in trouble and their mugshots being blasted online. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see, like, another person sharing somebody's mugshot. Like, I just don't like it. Like, for one, the person getting in trouble, like, they obviously know what they've done. They're sitting in there probably stewing on it, like, hating themselves already. And then, but another side to it is, like, the family that's still out there that's having to deal with that on, like, social media. Like,
right. And I never saw anything of you, like, anybody shared, but I can't imagine, like, getting on any social media and seeing that, like, it crushes you, because I feel like when somebody you love in addiction gets in trouble, there's so many emotions that come along with it. Like, for one, you're grateful they're safe, but also they're still in trouble, like, and it hurts you, you know? So the fact that other people sit there and comment on it and share it and laugh or whatever they do, it brings you to a whole different level of just sadness, for
compassion.
Yeah, and your family, like, the family still sees that, so that's just something to remember when you find yourself in those situations.
And I think that adds to the problem of, like, the stigma on addiction and stuff. Like, instead of doing that and, like, bringing, like, a almost, like, you know, belittling message to, like, somebody getting in trouble, like, how about, you know, see what you can do to help, or, you know, just pray for them.
I'm here for you, even, like,
even if you don't,
thinking about you, or,
like, I just, you know,
or just say nothing rather than something hateful.
You know, and that is what has came. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I've never looked up mugshots. I've never been nosy. Like, I do. I still do. But, like, I also don't
look at them and feel
Like, it's more like, man, I can't wait. Like, I just saw somebody recently that I knew, and, you know, I called my mom, and I was like, hey, I'm not calling to gossip, but I want you to pass the message along. If when they get out, if they, you know, like, I open this meeting, like, let them know that they can reach out to me. Like, that's what, you know, I wish more people would do, rather than just being like, oh, did you see such and such got arrested? Like,
again, like, they just always, it's always a negative energy people bring to it whenever they share those things.
But now in recovery, I also, instead of being like, why would they share that? They're a horrible person. Like, I just realized those are battles that they're fighting. Like, that's something that they're, like, something that they're battling inside, they're projecting on that person. So, like, I'm not even judgmental in that sense, because obviously that's something that they're gonna have to work on. But I don't know, that's just something else that is controversial to me, that just irritates me, but it is what it is. So I think we're gonna wrap this up. It's Sunday. It's been a long week, ready for the work week and the, well,
woo! Really excited for that work week.
Grateful for a job. If I keep telling myself that, I'll believe it. So
one day.
So in the near future, we are going to start trying to have, you know, other people on here to see other perspectives and other stories, not just ours. So if you are our friends in recovery or family members of those in recovery, get ready, because we're coming for you.
And there's no hiding.
Right. So, I don't know. So we'll catch you next time, and thank you for watching and supporting. And
don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because once again, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do a giveaway. And thank you for your continued support. We're grateful.
No.
Bye. Bye.